mental note here. Make sure I always respond to Blaze's text. Welcome to We're All Just Faking It podcast. Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a lovely day today. We're going to go ahead and get right started for this podcast episode. Dana, do you want to let us know how you faked it this week?
Yeah, basically just pretending that I'm okay and not like super tired all the time and want to be at home in my Udi for like the whole week. So yeah, I've just been like faking working, I guess, and like just doing adult things, just pretending to be an adult for a bit.
Are you going into work? You work in person?
Yeah. Because I fix stuff, I can't work from home, unfortunately. I wish I could though. That would be awesome.
I find sometimes with work, that is like the place that I fake it the most. Like going into work and being at work. When your mental health is like not great, you have to fake it because otherwise you're just going to be miserable. Like it's people asking you, what's wrong? Are you okay? Which we all know when you're not feeling well is like the worst thing ever at work. Blaze, what about you? Did you fake it this week?
Oh, yeah. This week was just, it was very long. It was exhausting in many ways. And it was just like, I don't know about you guys, but with the start of the new year, they added like way more responsibilities, which I'm thankful for. But at the same time, it's been a pain. Like I've been training the new guy and it's going good. But this past week, it was like they just stacked things onto me like constantly. And I just didn't want to work like all week, it felt like.
Oof.
So
that is rough. I find like when I do fake it, it helps a lot. I don't know why, like Dana was saying, like kind of just like going through the motions and just like doing what you need to do and being an adult, even though you have like no desire to do any of those things at the moment. And it sucks and it's painful, but like you're still able to get your stuff done. I don't know. It's a weird phenomenon that happens when you're struggling mentally, but you have to get stuff done.
Yeah. I feel like as well, I know we always say like fake it till you make it. Like sometimes just fake it anyway and just get through. And then when you get home, just do what you want to do.
Yes.
That's exactly how this week went. It was just a lot of faking it and not much actually getting stuff done. Like I got done what I really had to get done, but much past that, no.
Sometimes that's necessary.
Yeah. Also, like, you don't have to be good every single week. Like, I feel like there's all this pressure, like, when we talk about mental health and stuff, that we have to be like, yeah, I'm doing really well. Like, it's okay to have a week where you're just like, you know what? I made it through this week and that was good enough. Like, next week will be better, but this week was a bit blah.
That's like one of my life mottos. I think maybe I've talked about this on here before, but it's just like good enough. And it works with whatever you want it to work with, whether it's like a project you're working on or like your homework or whatever. I'm always just like, well, it's good enough. You know, it's like the opposite of a perfectionist.
Yes.
So today we're talking about communication, which I feel like is a really fun topic because communication is so important in our lives and really can dictate the way a lot of our lives go, especially like with work and friends and stuff.
I find communication is probably something that I get the most annoyed about. Like I find it really annoying when people don't communicate. Like if, for instance, if someone plans something with me and they can't go for whatever reason, that's fine. Like I'm like chill about that, but like you have to tell me and you can't wait until like fair enough if you're ill on the day, like fair enough, but like if you don't want to go, don't like not bother telling me and then wait until past the time and I still don't know what's going on, because like I've planned my whole day around that, and then like a lot of the time I can't start something until like, you know, like yes. I'm like, oh well, that will be in 2 hours, which is basically just 1 hour, and then I have to get ready, so actually I've only got half an hour, and actually the whole time I had like everything because you were never going to come.
They were going to cancel.
Tell me.
Yeah.
It's like you plan your whole day around it and you do all these things and then you're like, this just fell through. And it's like I could have done so many other things. Like,
Yeah,
it's
and the
just
most
annoying.
frustrating thing is that people are on their phones all the time. So how hard would it be to just shoot a little text or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or Discord or any kind of social media that you were on, because we're all on something, and just say, "Hey, really sorry, can't come out today," or "I feel like shit today, I'm not coming out." Like, just give people a heads up. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah, that's the most difficult part about it, is that like even for me when I'm like in a really dark place, I tend to like ignore my phone, you know? Granted, if I had plans with somebody, I'd probably let them know. But just like general communication, mine tends to like fall off the wagon when I'm not feeling well. And I'm like, people probably know that like I'm on my phone, like, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I like want or can socialize. So it's like, it's tricky. But at the same time, I feel like it is like a really nice courtesy that even if you're not feeling well, like mentally, like you can take the time to just be like, I am not feeling well, I can't talk, or like whatever it is, like just let them know what is going on. Even if it's like, can't feel well, can't talk. Like I'd be like, cool, you know, like I'll give you some time or space, whatever you need, like just communicate something.
Yeah. Exactly. And the thing is, like, if it's just like in general, like I have people who I don't talk to for like weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh my gosh, this person like exists again. And like I'll message them. And I don't have a single problem with that. That's fine. If you don't want to talk to me for like a week because like you just don't want to talk to anybody and you don't, communication is just not a thing, fair enough. But like if we have a plan,
Yeah.
it really bugs me. And also, especially because like with my friends, when we're out, they'll be on their phones messaging people and like being on social media, and I'll be like, so then when it's time to kind of like answer a plan or like to communicate whether you're coming or not, it's like, well, I know that even if you're out with someone, you are going to be on your phone talking to somebody, so
Mhm.
like I see you doing it, like.
I think, oh, go ahead, please.
That would annoy me because, like, when I'm with people in person, I'm not looking at my phone. I look at my phone a lot outside of that, but, like, if I'm actually hanging out with someone I haven't seen them in a while, I'm not on my phone whatsoever. Like, I get if you are some, but, like, constantly being on it and then not replying to text as well would drive me absolutely insane. So I definitely see where you're coming from, Dana.
Mental note here: make sure I always respond to Blaze's texts.
I don't even care about that. Like sometimes you don't respond and I'm like, okay, I don't really care.
Yeah, like I sent Braylon like a Build-A-Bear picture of like the new Build-A-Bear that's come out, and like maybe a week later she'll see it and be like, oh yeah, I've bought that now. Like you fueled my addiction. I'm like, awesome. I don't expect a response from Braylon quickly on Discord, because you always say if I want to get hold of you quickly, message you on Facebook anyway. So
I do feel like communication like takes practice. Like it definitely is something that you have to work on, like thinking about in order to get better at. But if you are just like, I don't know how to tell, like how would you tell someone like how to start practicing better communication?
It's
I
more
don't
of just
know.
a conscious effort on their part. Like just be more open with me. Just if you're not feeling good, just say you're not feeling good. Maybe they're feeling the pressure or they feel pressured that like you're
To
not going to
respond.
like that response
Yeah.
or
I
something.
I once heard somebody say that you should look at like say, when somebody like reaches out to you, whether it's like an old friend or like a friend, somebody on text, somebody on Discord, look at it as an opportunity for connection and not necessarily like something that you're like being forced to respond to, or like try and take that pressure off of yourself, because really when we message somebody, any of us, like Dana for instance sending me the Build-A-Bear, that is just like an opportunity for connection. Do you know what I mean? But it's not like if I don't respond, Dana's going to be like, wow, you're the worst person ever. And it doesn't have to be like this scary thing, like it's just people are just looking for connection. That's all.
No, I do. Like I genuinely do think that. No,
I
but
would
also
like to think. Go ahead, Data.
I was just going to say, also, Braylon, you've already managed the expectation and communicated with all of us that if we want to actually get a response from you quickly, we talk to you on Facebook. So I already know that if I message you something and you don't answer straight away, you're not ignoring me. You've already managed the expectation that you don't check your
That is
Discord messages
great.
at all, really.
I mean, I
You forget
do,
a
but
lot.
it's not something I'm checking like every
Yeah.
hour, it
And
depends
like,
on the day kind of,
yeah,
but yeah.
we already know that. So like, I wouldn't ever think that. Like, even if I was overthinking, I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, she's ignoring me because she hates me. I'd be like, oh, I guess Brayden's just not looking at Discord today. Fair enough.
Or she got distracted, was going to reply, and then she just didn't. Because that happens as well.
All that.
This is why I like don't read my texts until I'm like ready to respond, because like if I read it and then like I get a notification for something else and I pop off the screen, like it's just like brain's like that doesn't exist anymore. The ADHD struggle is real.
That's exactly what I expect from you. So like I don't expect a response unless I'm asking a question that I need a response from.
Usually when you text me, I'm really good though, like because it's always like something I need
are.
to pay attention to. So now I'm like, oh okay, all right, I'm on it. Like I'm on it. I'm on it. Like Blaze will be like, you need to check mod chat. I'm like, I'm on it. Like don't worry.
Yeah, like before I had you on Facebook, I'd be like, Blaze, could you just text Braylon for me?
So managing expectations, or not managing them, but like letting people know the way that your communication styles kind of function. And because I think we have like so many different ways you can contact people now, right? Like we have DMs on like 10 different things. There's email, there's Facebook, there's text message, WhatsApp. Like knowing which one your friends are going to like respond on most, or like they check most, I think is important. And like maybe somebody's like, you know what, I only check my DMs like every day at 4:00, like that, let somebody know if that's the way that you function in your communication. Just like tell people, like again, communicate with people.
Yeah. Also, like if you're friends with somebody, maybe just explain how your brain works. Like we all know that you get distracted and you forget to message people. We know that's a thing, so we're not going to then have miscommunication of going, oh, I guess Braylon's just ignoring me then. Oh god, like she's so rude. Like we know, oh, Braylon got distracted. It's all good. Like there's no negativity because we already have
That's
that
really
in
good.
our heads of what we are expecting.
I would like to think that I'm a good communicator just because like I make a very conscious effort, and I always have. That's just the type of person I am. Because growing up, like one of my brothers was all right with communicating, and the other one is very bad at communicating. Like he does not communicate. We just have this thing where we know if we're not getting a text from him or anything, that probably means things are going good, and to just leave him alone.
See, you just got to figure out what is your style. How do you function? And just let people know this is how I communicate and this is what works best for me. But then also, two sides to the same coin, if your friend tells you something about the way that they function, make sure that you work with that,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no point someone telling you how they're going to be and then you expecting something completely different. Because you're always going to be annoyed and it's never going to work. You're always going to be like, oh, why are they not replying straight away when they've already said I only look at my messages at 4:00. So you're at 2:00 going, oh, she hasn't answered. Like, it's not going to work.
Yes, exactly. I love that.
I feel like I over-explain things because I'm so worried about being like misunderstood or like miscommunicating things that like by over-explaining I feel like people maybe are like, oh, she's not great.
That's a super ADHD thing as well.
Oh shit.
Over explaining, because I don't know about you, but when you are like learning or like in a new environment, do you ask like a gazillion questions?
Yeah.
So do I.
Don't, because I am the type of person who watches.
Oh, well,
everything.
that works too. But I find when I'm like explaining something to somebody, I want to try and like answer every question that I would have.
That's
so
how
I
reading
like
is.
super over explain things because I'm like, I just want to make sure that like you get all the info and not everyone is like that.
Yeah, because like when I was talking to my friends, we have this thing where we do like a padlock system. So like closed padlock means we don't want to talk about what's upsetting us, but we want a distraction. And open padlock is we want to talk about stuff. When people have got a second, message us. That I implemented into our group chat because my friends have a hard time of like communicating how they feel, like they struggle, and then like then it'll be like, I'll message, oh, I'm struggling. And then they'll be like, me too. And it'll be like, hey, why didn't you say anything? And it'll be like, oh, I feel a bit awkward saying something. So the emoji is a lot easier to deal with. So I communicated a couple of weeks ago that when I need a distraction, I need it to be a positive one, because if I'm already anxious about something, a distraction saying like, oh, I have COVID or whatever, it's just going to make me panic even more and make me stress even more. But I tried to communicate it well, but it kind of came off like I was targeting my friend who had distracted me, trying her best, and unfortunately, she thought I was like having a dig at her, when really I was just trying to like explain, hey, I need this from you guys, because I'm trying to communicate my needs more, instead of expecting people to read my mind, you know?
Yeah.
It's very hard to communicate your needs while also not offending someone. Definitely in a situation like that.
Also,
It's not you. This is just what I need.
Also,
Yeah.
I find communicating, like when you are like us and you know what your needs are and you talk about them frequently with people, and like we have super open communication with one another, going to like another group of people who maybe like they don't even know what their needs are. They don't know how to communicate them. Like even like being able to say like I need this is a very like healed and progressive thing.
It's a skill.
A lot of people, if you're like, well, what do you need? Like most people are going to be like, I don't know. Like they don't know. So then like it's really difficult, I find, when you're somebody who's more, I don't want to say like someone who's just like farther along on their like personal development journey. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
find it difficult to talk to people who are more like in an unhealthy place, or like have a victim mindset, because then sometimes you expressing your needs or like expressing expectations, they can take it as like a personal attack, which is really frustrating. But like there's nothing you can do about that. Like you just have to manage your expectations when you talk to those people and know that maybe they're not going to give you the response you're looking for.
I find a lot of the time when it's like text and things, I read things with a tone that like, for instance, if Blaze and I are reading the same message, like in a chat or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, that's a bit, and they'll be like, no, like Blaze will be like, oh, I read it as this, and I'll be like, oh, I read it like this. It's so hard sometimes when you're reading with like tone, that sometimes even with that you can miscommunicate kind of.
I also think it depends on like how much you know that person. I think that helps as well, like just knowing the general gist of like how they function and how their brain works, I think is very helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely.
Like managing expectations, knowing like who you can talk to about certain topics. Like even in my own family, I know that there's certain people that give advice differently and in different ways, and I will go to different people depending on what I am looking for. And if I only have like one person available at the moment, I might say like, this is what I need you to do for me right now. Either like I just need you to listen, or I want you to help me find solutions, or like whatever it is, just like being communicating those things and being honest and open is like, it just makes it easier for everyone.
Definitely. I know that if I go to my granny, for instance, I will get a realistic, brutally honest, like response or opinion from her. So, like when I was thinking about going to uni to become a therapist, I asked her what she thought, because I knew she's not going to pull any punches. It's all going to come out. And actually, she was really supportive of it, which I was surprised. I thought there was going to be more of a like criticism behind it, which but I knew I could trust that from her, because she wouldn't be saying that to like protect my feelings. She genuinely thought that. So it's good to have kind of those people, I guess.
I
That's
find
kind of what
Oh,
Go ahead. Oh. I was going to say, that's kind of what happened to Reagan when he decided to go. Actually, when he decided to drop out the first time, he was very scared that his parents were going to really be harsh on him. But they ended up being like, this obviously isn't what you want, so do it. And I mean, it saved him money just going ahead and dropping out instead of finishing an extra 2 years.
I think that's one of like people's biggest faux pas when it comes to communication is that they make assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
And assumptions are like the immediate killer to healthy communication. Like if you're telling yourself stories in your head about how you think somebody is going to respond, like you're not giving them the opportunity to respond on their own. And I just feel like that's the biggest one of the biggest like hurdles is like stop making assumptions about how you think people are going to respond and let them respond how they will, you know.
I think going into it with like an open mind is
Yeah.
the best thing that you can do.
Yeah. Do you guys remember like before you were great at communication, was there ever a time in your life when you like sucked at it? Because for me, I used to hate communication so much that I like called it confrontation. Like anytime somebody had like an issue with me or like wanted to talk to me about something serious, I would just freeze up. Like I wouldn't want to do it. I had like such this massive wall up about like it was scary. It was terrifying to think about having hard conversations with people. Maybe I disappointed them or something like that was awfully scary. Did you guys ever have like a period of time in your life like that?
I think for me, I just kind of, I don't know, I just like spoke to people and I expected them to already know what I wanted. Like I wasn't communicating my needs because I just assumed everyone like
Knew.
some things I thought were just obvious, like, you know, like for instance the thing about how when I want a distraction I only want a good one. I thought that was an obvious thing, but obviously you've got to communicate that because people don't know, like a distraction's a distraction, like. So yeah, like now I'm a lot better at realizing, oh shit, I didn't put that expectation in, so I should have said that. But before I'd be like, oh, like why are they not getting what I want? Why are they not responding in the way I want them to respond, like all the time without like saying to them, hey, like this is what I expect, like, or not even just this is what I need. Could you guys like, this is what I need. I need this from you, please. So yeah, I definitely think I avoided confrontation or communication, but also like I was bad myself at communicating my needs.
I think I kind of went reverse. I was fine as a kid with communication and confrontation, but as I've gotten older, it's gotten way harder for me.
Interesting.
Because I'm a lot more worried about what the other person is going to say or think.
Yeah. The one thing I will say that like helped me get over that hurdle, like for me, it was especially when I was like in my early 20s and I was in college and I was working a job. Like if my teacher asked to talk to me like after class, I'd literally like start panicking. If my boss was like, I need to talk to you after work, like immediate panic. And the only thing that really helped me overcome that was practicing and like doing it and making myself uncomfortable while doing it and realizing afterwards, like, hey, that actually wasn't so bad. And over time, after having more and more hard conversations, I realized like, this is actually beautiful and it's how you grow. And it's like, if somebody is taking the time to have a difficult conversation with you, they care about you. And like, that is a really cool thing, I think. Like they want to help you in some way, and those tough conversations are going to force you to grow as a person, and over time they get easier and easier.
I wish they got easier for me.
I think like when you're in a hotshot job too, like it is a little more nerve-wracking for sure. Like it's you have a really, you know, like big girl fancy job, and it's like a little bit scarier, you know, like I understand. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel it more with friends than I do with work. Work doesn't scare me quite so much. Like, I will say, when my boss did want to have a conversation with me, when she told me, I freaked out that day. I was like, losing my mind for like hours up until we finally had the meeting. And then she was like, oh, I just want you to move to the new team. I was like, okay, that's That's manageable.
Yeah.
Don't just email me. We need to have a talk later on. I'm like, who does that? My brain goes directly somewhere else.
I think everybody does. Like, if I was to text Trey and be like, hey, when I get home from work today, we need to have a talk. Like, that would be the meanest thing I could ever do, because he literally would be like, what? Like your brain's just going to start running with stories, right? And they're all going to be bad, probably.
Yeah.
Like,
There's no good scenario if someone says they need it. It might just be like, you're like, oh, hey, we should talk, like, because we haven't had a chat for ages. Let's just, like, enjoy each other's company.
And that's
that is not going
fine.
through anyone's head at all. That is
Yeah.
not the scenario.
no.
No.
Don't just tell me one part of that.
Or like,
Yeah.
can I ask you a question? And then like you say
That
yeah, and then
too.
like they don't ask you, and you're like, what's the question? What's happening? Like why? Like just ask the question. Don't ask me if you can ask a question. Just ask it, because like that's ruined my whole day.
Like when my best friend texted me and our other best friend last weekend, she was like, can I ask you guys something? I'm like, oh, what is it? I was like, oh my god, there's something wrong. And there was, but
I only do that when I have a question. Like, I'm not going to say the topic because it's like a little triggering, but I asked my sisters last week if I could ask them about a certain topic. Like I said, is it okay if I ask a question about this? Because
That's
I didn't
fine.
know if any of them had experienced what I was talking about, and I wanted to like tread lightly. Do you know what I mean?
I
that's
get
a
it.
lot better way to put it.
Yeah, you know, like, hey, can I ask you a question about this? Like, is it okay if we talk about this topic? I even find, like, with some of my really good friendships, we will ask each other, like, if I'm struggling with my mental health, like, before just, like, being like, hey, I'm really struggling, I will message them and be like, do you have the capacity for, like, support right now? And, like, is it okay if I open up to you about the things that I am struggling with? And that is really helpful, because it gives the other person the opportunity to be like, actually, no, I'm also really struggling right now, and I don't have any capacity to like hold space for you at the moment.
I feel like that
I think
comes
that's
under
important.
communication though, like because you're communicating
Totally.
your needs, but you're also managing expectations so that they can also communicate their needs, which could be, yes, I have the space for this right now, or no, I don't have this space right now, and that is a good way to kind of go about it. I mean, even when you said you asked your sisters, can I ask you a question about this topic? You've managed their expectation. It's not like someone saying, can I ask you a question? And you're like, oh my God, what could it be?
Exactly.
Their overthinking is now like non-existent, because they know what it's going to be, and they can either say yes or no, and then you can ask that question.
How do you guys get past overthinking?
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Brene Brown, but she has an amazing video on basically like the stories that we tell ourselves. And what I mean by that is like overthinking. Say, for instance, like I was to message Blaze and she ignored me. And then I like was in a voice chat with you and you like brushed me off a little bit. I might tell myself a story of like, wow, Blaze is like really mad at me for some reason. And like, I don't know what I did. And like, I just can't believe she's ignoring me. And like, you have to understand and recognize when that's bullshit. And like, give the other person the benefit of the doubt always, to be like, you know what? I bet she's just busy. She probably is just tired today. Like maybe she's having a really difficult day and that's why she did that. Like, almost always I find people's things have nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
We just get the reaction of like, if somebody is having a hard day, they might give you like a pff, or like a, you know, like even at work, somebody might just like ignore you or be a little cold or whatever. And I always assume, instead of there's something with me, there's something going on with them. And that's helped me a lot to like stop those stories from going on in my head. And just like, I don't know, I hope that, was that helpful? Is that what you meant? Overthinking?
Yeah.
That's one part of overthinking,
That's
I think,
helpful.
is like making up stories in your head. And it's really hard sometimes to identify, like, is there any, like, hold up a second, I'm like running on a train with this thought. Is there any truth to this at all? Or is this just something that I took a small piece of information and like ran with it without knowing the full truth?
What I do is a bit different. I will just message the person like, "Hey, I feel like you're a bit off with me. In like our recent chat, like, is everything okay? Like, cause I'll message Blaze and be like, hey, like I." I'll be like, because sometimes you read things in different tones. I'll be like, "Oh, hey, Blaze, like, are we okay?" Like did it, like I've read this back and I realized the tone might have been like not the right tone in how I've conveyed how I feel. Like, are we good? And like all the time, it's like, yes, like it's literally just me overthinking. But just by asking that question and the yes, like immediately the overthinking stopped because I have a genuine answer. Like, one of my friends, sometimes she seems quite off with me. That's just how she is when she's tired. Like, and I know that now because I've asked her different times, like, hey, are we okay? And every time she'll say, oh, I'm really sorry. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to come across that way. I'm just feeling tired. So now when I feel like she's a bit off with me, I just think, oh, she must be tired today. I hope she's all right, and give her the benefit of the doubt because I know now that that's just how she is when she's tired.
I I usually will think of the worst scenario, and then my head goes to, oh, they're probably just busy. They have something going on with them or something like that. And but I still, like, in the back of my mind, it's still there. And I
Some
can't shake it. That's just how I am.
I would say
some
though, if you like are friends with somebody or you're good friends with somebody, never feel like afraid to just say, "Hey, are we okay?" Or like, "Hey, I feel like you're giving me
did
off
I make you
vibes." Like,
mad? Like,
yeah, like is it something that I've done that I can help you with, or is it something that it's just going on with you? Do you want to talk about it? Like, just having that communication is definitely helpful with stopping the overthinking.
Yeah.
the story thing with me is so bad. Like, I literally, my brain just like wants to create stories around things that have happened without any evidence, that like I even have to stop myself from doing them, like with my partner. Like, my brain will literally be like, he looked at me wrong, he's mad, and then I'm like, Braylon, cut that shit out, like, you are so dumb. Sometimes I'm like, literally, this is a full-on story that you made up that is not true at all. And like, it's really harmful too if you have those perceptions of people, like if somebody is and you're just like, oh, they're really mad at me, like that's really harmful because they probably aren't, and then you're like making something out of nothing that's not there.
Yeah, I remember messaging you actually and being like, "Hey, Braylon, like I feel like you're like, have I done something to upset you?" Like, Braylon, like, who's lovely to everybody. Like, why would I think that she's upset with me? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I remember messaging you, being like, "What? No, like what?" And like it's like crazy. I think it's just because like I was that was when I was like first like getting to know you and stuff, and so
it,
like
it takes
we'd
some
gone
time.
we'd like actually become real life friends, not just like a parasocial relationship. Like, and so like it's all like learning about each other as well. So I feel like sometimes, yeah, like thinking immediately that people are mad at you is a problem, and you need to kind of like find some healthy way of coping with that. But like when you're first learning about new people and like and getting used to them, it's okay to say like, hey, you mad at me? Or is like, and you learn through like different ways. No, that's just how they are. Like, they just don't message on Discord very often, or this is just how they message when they're tired. And you learn ways that people are, like, because we're not all the same every single like day or every single time
Mhm.
of the day. Like we may message differently, and that's okay.
I think you can tell a lot about someone by their communication patterns, and that goes into communication and how you go about it.
I think the biggest thing too is just like give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't, start going on crazy thinking tangents until you find out the answer if you can. Like, just always try to remember to like give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, we are so funny because we're like so self-centered as humans that we literally think like we are so important in everybody else's lives that I am the reason that they are upset today. Like, what are the chances of that in somebody's whole day? One small interaction with you is the whole reason that they're up, you know? Like, it's like we're so selfish in that way that we're like, it's because of me. I just know it. Like, it's my fault. Like,
Like, someone bangs their cup, me, an empath, I've made them mad.
yes, you
Yep.
know, like,
Exactly.
it's exactly that.
It's like I had nothing to do with this, but it's still my fault.
Yeah. Like, I've never met this person before, but they're walking angrily because of me.
Exactly, right? I often, when I like see somebody, like even if it's like a stranger in public, like obviously it's not going to cause you to overthink, but if they're like really grumpy and angry, I often like feel sad for them. Like I'm like,
Same.
oof, like you're going through it today. Like I am sorry for you. Like, you know, whether it's someone I interact with, like customer service or what, or just like out in the world, like I'm always like, oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry for you. Like,
That's why I always try and be like overly nice to people that are like working public jobs, because you like have no idea what customer they had before you at all.
I
yeah,
also
Just feel
like,
bad
even
for
if
them.
I get one that is kind of a jerk, because I've had that happen plenty of times, I just try to think about what they're going through that day and try not to take it personal and just move on.
Yeah, also like you'd be a jerk too if someone had like if you had people shouting at you all day, do you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
fair enough. You have that moment. Yeah, that's fine.
totally.
That's like, while we were on the cruise, Reagan and I, one of the bartenders was getting yelled at by like multiple people because like they didn't have a specific game on the cruise, and Reagan and I were just like, he's not the one who pays for this stuff. Are you kidding me? He can't make it magically appear. Why are you yelling at the poor dude? So we ended up giving him a nice tip because of that.
Yeah, I always do the same thing as well. That goes back to like managing your expectations as well. Like you can't have unrealistic expectations in your mind. Like that's only going to be detrimental to you and all of the people in your life.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't get people like that either, because like they have unrealistic expectations. Like, do they just expect the person to then turn around and be like, "Oh, why didn't you say like here, have the game that you want? Like, no worries." Like that's not going to happen. So in whatever scenario happens, they're going to be unhappy because they haven't managed their expectations at all.
That situation too where somebody like gets extremely angry at like a customer service person or like the guy on your cruise, like that is just like in my eyes like somebody that is not emotionally intelligent or like emotionally aware, because like there is no situation in which you should ever yell at somebody like for what you described, Blaze. Like that's
Yeah, no.
absolutely bonkers to me. Like are you 5? Are you a literal child that like someone took your toy away and you're crying because you don't have the emotional intelligence of an adult? Like
do you
that's
was,
what it
like,
makes me feel
feet?
like.
He was like making the guy prove that they actually didn't have this channel.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. And we stayed there because it was like there were 2 games on because they only had 2 football channels. There was an app game, and I went to app, so I was watching it, obviously, and there was a Tennessee game. Those were the only 2 on the TV, and I cannot tell you how many people came in complaining about the fact that those were the only 2.
That just like blows my mind because you're on a cruise ship like in the middle of the ocean and you're like, oh, I can't go to my football game. Like, are you
Yeah.
okay?
Like,
Are
never
you
mind
all
the fact you're
right?
on vacation. Like,
Yeah.
Funny enough, that ended up being our favorite bar.
That's so funny. I love it.
Yeah. The guy was so nice.
What do you do if you're like communicating with somebody and like they suck at communication? How do you handle that like in a relationship, a friendship, whatever?
I
Do
mean,
you like distance yourself from that person?
it depends. I would probably like keep trying, but like if the person is like not trying to understand you better, or like there is no chance of them improving, I mean, I think for your own mental health, you need to distance yourself, because you're just going to end up getting frustrated, upset, hurt, because you're constantly communicating your needs, or just literally having an open conversation, and this person is not trying to get any better at it, even though they know that it's something that is important, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think if I kept telling someone that this is what my needs are, or even if they like at least tried to meet me halfway,
Right? Yeah.
I'd be fine. But just not even trying, yeah, I'd distance myself.
Yeah, if someone said like, "Hey, I understand this is what you want. I don't really. I'm struggling on communicating." Like, and they ask you for help even, or they're trying to. You can see that they're trying to get better. Like, that's fair enough. Like, and you can help them if you have that mental capacity, like that space to take care of that. But yeah, if that person is constantly like, you're communicating your needs and they're constantly like doing nothing, they don't care about you. They literally could not care less to even try and meet you halfway. It's not worth having that type of relationship in your life or friendship.
Also, this is another thing. Let's say the person isn't actively trying, but they have communicated to me that they're struggling. I'll leave them alone. I'll give them like their own type of space, kind of almost.
I find like I get a pretty good feel for people's like communication, which I feel like is tied so much to like emotional intelligence and stuff like
I
that,
agree.
because in order to like communicate your needs and your expectations, you have to know what those are, and a lot of people don't do the work to figure that out. But I find that I can usually tell, at least like interacting online with somebody, pretty quickly if they're even the type of person that can handle those conversations. And I usually don't gravitate towards people who can't, because I want friends in my life that I can say like, here's my need, are you able to help? Like, here's what's going on in my life. And I want friends that are like supportive and kind and like can push me to be better. You know, I want a friend that's going to call me on my bull crap as well and be like, help me to get to a better place. And I find I don't even end up really being friends with the people that aren't able to do that.
Yeah.
I think same. I learn people. I would say that I am a people person, and I learn people's habits and how they work very easily. It just comes naturally to me, and I know that for other people it just doesn't.
I'm the
So it's
same.
something you just kind of pick up on and learn.
Yeah.
It's
I'm the exact
interesting
same way.
because in like relationships, like your significant other and stuff, people say communication, that's the most important thing in any relationship, right? But that also should be for any type of relationship as well.
Mhm.
Friendship, family, relative, like whatever it is, communication is the key of any kind of relationship you will have with anybody. And I do think it should be important, and people should like be thinking about it, even if the way that someone else handles their communication is different from you. As long as there is some type of communication, you're doing a lot better than if someone just will not like at all bother.
You have to meet in the middle, right? Whatever it is, whatever relationship, like compromise, meet in the middle, and just talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I laugh because if you ever go on Reddit and look at like the relationship subreddit, and people are posting
Yep.
like these long stories about their partners and, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Literally every single time the answer is sit down and talk to them about it. Like, why are you posting on Reddit this whole thing? Go talk to the person that you're having the problem with. But I think so many people have, like how I did, they have this big wall up when it comes to having hard conversations. And they're like, not going to do that. So instead, I'm going to post on Reddit and see if anybody has any ideas of how I can get out of the situation without communicating. And
just break up with them. Isn't that what Reddit's like?
a
Red
lot of
flag,
times,
break up with them.
a lot of times though, they're like, did you
that is
talk
the
to them?
answer.
Like,
Yeah.
did you
Yeah.
talk to your partner about this? Because you wrote all these nice things in this thread, or like you explained yourself so thoroughly, but like, did you tell them this?
My
Like,
I've looked at
favorite
those
is
too.
my favorite is the update where they're like, "Oh, my wife found my post and we had a like really long chat about it and we're all okay now." And I'm like, "Wow. Who could
There
have
you
known that?"
go.
yeah, would have never thought that would happen.
Wow.
So
Oh my
surprised.
gosh.
Even if you too, like, I find like some people think, um, like if you're neurodivergent or you struggle with like ADHD or autism, you don't have to talk to people in person if you don't want to. Like sometimes my husband and I occasionally will have difficult conversations over text because sometimes both of us struggle to like say what we want or say what we need in person. And like I remember when I was a child, if I ever had to communicate something really difficult to my mom and dad, like maybe I disappointed them or I let them down or like something happened and I needed to tell them, I would always write them a letter and I would just hand it to my mom. And I would be like, here you go. Like, this is what's going on with me. And I feel like that's a good stepping stone if you need to. Like, don't be like, oh, this is a really serious conversation. Like, I have to do it in person. Because if that's going to stop you from having the conversation, that's not good. It doesn't matter how you communicate or like on what platform, just talk to people.
And a lot of
Definitely.
times people will appreciate what you're saying to them, even if it isn't like a in-person conversation about it.
Yeah.
Like, just let me know these things.
Yeah. I was like shocked when my one of my best friends, she was like, "Oh, like me and my fiance, we really struggle to talk to each other sometimes like in person." But she said like the absolute game changer was just texting them what was wrong and like being able like even just sitting next to each other and just texting it worked so much better for them. And I'm like, well, like that's awesome. Like it's it's still communication, isn't it? Like regardless of whether it's text or literally talking to somebody. And if that makes them more comfortable, then why shouldn't they communicate that way? You know, like I think if you find what works for you, run with it. Like absolutely run with that, and communicate. That's what you need, obviously. Otherwise, no one will know.
I will always say, do what works for you.
Yeah.
And this goes for every single thing that we talk about.
Yeah.
So
Especially,
what if it's not the norm or anything like that? Just do it.
yeah. If it's obscure or alternative or whatever, but it works for you, who cares? That's
Yeah.
the only thing that matters is that it works for you.
Yeah. I always say something that works for me might not work for someone else, and something that works for someone else might not work for me. And sometimes you've just got to try different things, see what works for you, and when you find that communication that works for you, do it. It doesn't matter if that other person doesn't. Just communicate with them what works for you, and go from there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Honesty and openness and like vulnerability are just the most important things in any relationship. Don't lie about what you need. Don't say that you're fine when you're not. Like, be honest with people. It's hard, but it makes your life so much more enriched, I think.
And I
Like,
think a lot of times those hard conversations are like it's good for you and good for the other person. So
every time I have like a really difficult conversation, whether it's like a friend or my partner or a family member, our relationship afterwards is stronger and it's
mhm.
better. And you leave, granted, if like it's not toxic conversation that's hard, but if it's a good respectable conversation but it's about a difficult thing, you leave that feeling so good. Like every time after I have one of those conversations, I'm like, wow, like our relationship is so strong, like look what we can do. Like it seems so scary, but it's like so helpful.
What would you guys say about like someone is communicating their needs to you, or they reach out to you and tell you that they're struggling, about how someone should respond to that? Because like a lot of people will like have people communicating their needs to them and not know how to respond. Like what would be your first kind of like tip to help them navigate that kind of situation?
I think that goes back to the self in focusing on themselves and trying to figure out what they want in life, or just like anything like that, I guess.
I would say if somebody's like reaching out to you and telling you like, here are my needs, I would read those. I would evaluate them. I would evaluate the friendship in my mind. Is this somebody that deserves a lot of my energy? Or
Mm-hmm.
is it somebody that doesn't, depending on, who? Um, Based on our past interactions, like, is this somebody that I want to continue this with? But if it's a good friend and they're like, hey, here's my needs right now, I really need support, if I had the capacity to help them, I would just agree to do their needs. Like, I would say, like, if this is what you need, I got you, like,
Yeah.
let's do this. If it was within my capacity to handle it. If it was not within my capacity to handle it, I would say something like, I'm so proud of you for telling me this. I know it's not easy to like articulate your needs and let other people know, but I do not have the capacity to meet your needs at this moment. um, and it can be as yeah, that it can be as simple as that.
See, I find when I tell people that I'm struggling, a lot of the times people will say they're struggling too, and then that, unfortunately for me, I then go into trying to help them, and
Helper
then I
mode.
never get that space for me to be able to be open about the fact I'm struggling. There's never like a moment where it's like about me, I guess. Like, it's instantly like, oh yeah, I'm struggling too, and I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry about that, like how can I help you, like blah blah. It's never, there's never like a, oh, I'm really sorry that you're struggling right now, like, do you want to talk about it, like. And then I feel like that's something that maybe I need to communicate, that like if someone else is struggling at the same time as me, I will never put myself first in that scenario. I will always try and help someone else first, because that's just the way my brain works, I guess.
I think that's also just like listening to your friends and learning their habits. Like for me, if you just knowing you as I do know you, I would know not to say, oh, I'm struggling as well, because I know that you put others first a lot of times. So that's just something I will have learned and wouldn't do. I would have picked up on that at some point. Like I might have made that mistake once or twice, but eventually I would learn not to do it.
Two things. I think one, it comes down to like not having the best of friends. Because like, and second, if I don't know if you're just saying like I'm struggling, but what I would do if I knew my friends were like that is I would say something like, hey, I'm really struggling right now, what I need from you is this, this, and this, please let me know if you have the capacity to do that. And then that's kind of a weird message to respond back with, like, oh, I'm also struggling. But if they do, then thank you for letting me know you don't have the capacity to handle this right now. Like, I also don't have the capacity to help you. So let's wait a month and we'll check back in and see how we're doing. Something like that.
That's
Could
actually a
could
really like good way. Like, I thank you, because that's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
really
could
like
help
a
you a
much
lot to
better
be
way.
like, I can clearly see that you don't have the capacity for support right now, or however you want to say it. You can be nicer, but I also don't. So let's take a break and check back in a month and like see where we are. Let's check in next week or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the other day I messaged and said, I'm kind of like drowning at the moment. I really need to like see you guys and like communicate and like just have, like, for me, sometimes all I need is to get out of the house and just have a chat, and just I feel like everything is right with the world again. But like I
Mm-hmm.
was just felt like I was drowning because I just hadn't really left my house other than work and stuff. And the response I got was, well, maybe we're all drowning, like you don't know. And I was like, well, no, I don't know, because like no one's communicating. I'm
Ooh.
communicating how I
Yeah.
feel. Like, so yeah, I guess that was their way of saying
I
they didn't have capacity to
Mm-hmm.
deal with me struggling, but
Mm-hmm.
that
Without
was
yeah.
their way of communicating it.
Sometimes when you're like like us, we're like real good on our stuff, right? Like, we're always working to be better, and every day we're working on ourselves. When you're interacting with people who aren't like that, you kind of have to read between the lines. a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they're probably not going to say, I don't have the capacity to support you right now, or I can't hold space for you right now, because like that's just not in their vocabulary, you know? But them saying, well, what if we're all drowning? Then that's instantly you're going to know, okay, I'm so sorry. Like clearly none of us have the capacity for support right now. So let's
Yeah.
check back in later.
Yeah,
Which
it's
sucks.
definitely reading between those lines, because like the way that's put like sounds really shitty, but like if
Yep.
you look at it as in, okay, they're saying that's their way of saying they don't have the capacity, that's their way of saying without saying they're also drowning, like that's
Yeah.
fair. I think you're right that a lot of people don't know how to effectively communicate, like, you know, saying, I don't have the capacity right now, I'm also drowning right now, I'm really sorry that you're drowning, let's check in with each other in like in a week or like whatever.
Yeah.
I think too, if you have a friend who's like not at the same place emotionally as you, if you are invested in them and they are a really great friend, like you can help them get there by modeling the behavior that you want them to give you in your friendship. Like be the bigger person, be the better person. If it's someone you really care about and you want them to kind of like get to your level of communication and stuff, help them get there, you know?
But to the same point, if it's 2 or 3 years down the line and they're still not, I don't know at that point.
Cut it off.
It might not be worth it anymore.
You do have to make judgment calls every now and then.
Yeah. I think as well, just like for me, I'm still learning myself how to communicate my needs effectively. So like to talk to someone like you, Braylon, and have you say, well, I would communicate effectively this way, really helps me to like learn, okay, so I should say this instead of like something else, you know?
And I had people that helped me. Like I had people in my life that helped me have difficult conversations, but in those difficult conversations, they were like really kind and understanding and communicated well. It kind of gave made it like a safe space for me to be able to open up about struggling with that. Like saying these conversations are really hard for me, and like having somebody in your life that can kind of help you get over that hurdle, I think can be so great. But you have to be kind of willing to learn and willing to get better. You have to be open.
I also think we need to remind ourselves that we're all just like human beings trying our best. So like it's okay to admit you're struggling and ask for help. Like we're all humans here.
And it's okay to admit your faults. Like if you're bad at something, just communicate it.
Yes. I think admitting when you're wrong and admitting when you don't know things and admitting when you mess up and what your faults are, your weaknesses, is phenomenal. But you have to have the kind of friendship foundation that allows for that style of communication.
Definitely.
I think a lot of people really struggle with that. The biggest thing I would say, if you're looking to get better at communicating with your friends, is just practicing having those hard conversations. Practice them and they'll get easier over time. I feel like this was one of our like most awesome episodes. I feel like we've talked about so many good helpful tips on communication and like how to really be a better friend and communicator.
I feel better like already. I definitely feel better already, like just talking about all this and just like learning about how you guys like deal with like communication and like it's gonna sound really stupid, but like sentence starters from you, Braylon, instead of like, because I sometimes struggle with the right words, like, so when people say, well, maybe we're all struggling too, instantly I'm on the defensive when really I should be reading between the lines and going, right, they don't have the capacity right now, we're all struggling. And instead of being like, okay, well, that's a really shitty thing to say, I should instead just be like, okay, so what you're saying is you don't have the capacity either right now, and I'm sorry that you're going through
Which is fine. You know, you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to be like, hold up, I can't handle this.
Exactly. So yeah, I definitely feel like that was really helpful for me, like learning in this episode.
Oh, yay. Good.
Yay.
So fun. Well, Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you everybody for listening today. It was an amazing episode. We hope you found some value. Join us on Discord to access resources mentioned in each episode and find your people. We're super fun in there. Come hang out with us. We are unsure of our next episode topic, but stay tuned. It is going to be super fun, whatever it is. Make sure if you would like to send us any submissions or you have anything that you want us to talk about, you can do that either on Twitter or Discord, Instagram. Just reach out to us on any of our socials. And thank you everybody for listening and have a fantastic day.